What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Evil Change, or Jamie, whatever you guys prefer. And today we're going to talk about Modern Warfare 4 and how it looks like hot garbage. And so right now I have a list of some pros and cons in front of me. I'm basically just going to list them out one by one, not in any specific order, of course, because I didn't really take the liberty of doing that. I was watching the Call of Duty Next beta gameplays or whatever with all the streamers that they had out, and these are just some of the initial thoughts that I had, so I went ahead and wrote them down as I watched the gameplay. And so my first thought was this game looks completely gray washed. You know, per usual with the last most recent Call of Duty games, they all look super gray washed. Ever since 2019, everything's been super gray, basically foreshadowing the entire future of what Call of Duty would be for the next 10 years, basically, is what it feels like. Everything's been gray ever since 2019. And it's been one of the main reasons why I don't really like the Call of Duty games now. I'm not a fan of that skybox. Also, I noticed that a lot of streamers and YouTubers and stuff were using that ISO weapon. I gotta say that the meta looks awful. It looks super sweaty. I will say though, the one thing I found was positive was that the operators and weapons both look very grounded, so no complaints there. I really liked how the operators look. The weapons look pretty good, but I'm not a fan of the weapons or a lot of the modern day weapons that seem to have like that honey badger iron sight. I'm not sure why they keep doing that. That's all the way back in Call of Duty Ghosts is where that game came, or where that gun came from. And I was wondering what the hell the PPSH is doing in this game. It doesn't look like it belongs at all. It's supposed to be a more modern Call of Duty game, so it doesn't really make sense for that weapon to be in that game. The last time I really remember having fun with the PPSH is in Zombies and Black Ops 1 or 2 or whatever, or World at War to be more specific. Also, I paused the video and I was looking at the perk screen, and by just a quick glance looking at the perk screen, you can already tell that the perks are completely unbalanced. Ninja and Ghost should never be in the same category. Also, I was hearing from a lot of the streamers that Dead Silence doesn't completely mute your footsteps. I'm not sure why that isn't the case. We always need to have dead silence that actually works for us, not against us. If it's not going to mute the freaking footsteps, then what's the point of adding it in the game? So they just wasted their time by developing that. So that's more money down the drain and more time that they spent on something that's pretty much useless. Also, I was hearing a lot of the streamers say that dead silence doesn't completely mute your footsteps, which isn't really great. Footsteps is something that's really pivotal to the game. If you have a perk that's supposed to mute them, that perk should mute your footsteps, so I'm not sure why that isn't the case, but that's just something that I was hearing. I'm not really sure. I haven't played the beta at all. These are just my thoughts and feelings from just watching some of the gameplay today and writing down my initial thoughts. Also, I'm not really a huge fan of the yellow and green aesthetic that they're using. I just feel like they could have stuck with the green, although I feel like they probably did that just to avoid confusion with Modern Warfare 2022 Electric Boogaloo, as Blame Truth would say. I did note though that the kill streaks and operators were customizable per class. I really think that's a good addition to the newer Call of Duty games. I think that should be the move going forward because it allows for more customization throughout your classes, so you don't always have to play as the same person, don't always have to use the same kill streaks. And I also saw that you could even change kill streaks mid-game, which is really cool because, you know, sometimes you might get into a game and there's a bunch of UAV spam and you don't have that counter UAV equipped yet, but you can go customize your loadout and just go ahead and equip that really fast, and so you're good to go. I think that's really cool. I think that should be the staple going forward. They never really should change that. That should always be a thing going forward. Someone like me, I'm a huge college basketball fan. I'm a huge Duke fan, and back in the day when Call of Duty Ghost was in its prime, I named all of my operators after the starting lineup of Duke. So I think that's really cool. I think that's going to be really fun. That should always be a thing going forward. One other thing that I noticed about the classes was that the combat knife had its own dedicated slot, which I think is literally just awful. I think Call of Duty should just go back to the basics with it just being its own thing, you know, in your pocket. But, you know, they're doing what they have to do to leave room for more paid content and more customization, unfortunately. I'm not really a fan of Gunsmith. I did see that there is a firing range, though. The gunny thing I think is really stupid, but they created this huge mess, and, you know, there's this illusion of choice in the game because of the influx of attachments. Nobody knows what to use anymore. it's all useless anyways. Everybody's just going to Google it or watch an exclusive Ace video to figure out what to use. So I think Gunny is just useless. I think it's stupid. That's just my full opinion when it comes to that. Because people are just going to use the meta weapons regardless, or use whatever their favorite streamer is using. That's just how people are. One thing that I also took note of is you die insanely fast. It literally took half a second for someone to die. I saw a lot of bunny hopping movement demons. If you know, you know. I'm not a fan of playing like that at all. I don't play like that. I've never been a fan of the M4 meta either. I saw that a lot of people were using and running the M4. I've never been a huge fan of the M4. I can't stand the M4. I think it's just a basic weapon. I understand it's popular. I never really cared for the M4 meta. Even back in the day, I never cared for the M4. I will say though about this game though that the sniping does look super clean. If I could get my hands on a sniper and play with the sniping, I'd really like to pop off. But other than that, I can't really see myself playing the game. The sniping looked super clean. That's all I could really say. But I can't really tell. I can't complain about that. But it is Infinity Ward. They've always been known for having super clean sniping. But I don't really care about that sniper, the Signal 50. I'm not sure why they brought that back. They could have brought back any sniper and brought back the Signal 50. So there's that. That's another negative that I had on my list. I think that's the most garbage sniper of all time, to be honest, if you ask me. But people are going to have mixed opinions about that. I've seen a couple of different clips too where people were claiming to have been calling in the world's first nuke. And I gotta say that the flipping off when the nuke goes off, it looked insanely goofy. It looked really childish. It looked out of place. I mean, I understand people are going to have fun with that, but I just think it looked super goofy. I also think the cigar in the mouth gameplay that was going around looked super goofy as well. One thing I did find that was positive, for some reason I wrote down that heartbeat sensor red dot thing. I think it might be called the ISO tracer or something. For some reason that futuristic red dot looks pretty cool to me, so I wrote that down. I wrote that down as a positive. But if you don't know, guys, there is a hidden riot shield meta in the game. I haven't seen very many people talking about it, but I did watch this guy stream. He was using the shotgun and using the riot shield, and he was running around getting shotgun kills. And so the turtle shell gameplay is back for those that care for that. I wrote that down as a negative on my list. I'm not really a huge fan of that kind of gameplay. I've never played like that. The only time I really would use a riot shield is just to get the camo challenge completed, so I'm not really a fan of that. I don't think that they should have added that to the game. When it comes to the Apex attachments, I think it's just a gimmick. I know that there is shared attachments in the game, that's pretty cool. It's going to allow for faster weapon leveling up and things like that. Joe Seacott did say that there's shared attachments, and when you hit a level that is supposed to unlock a shared attachment, you're actually going to be rewarded a bonus level on top of that to get an attachment that you should be unlocking. So you'll always be unlocking attachments. You'll never be not getting rewarded. So I wrote that down as a huge positive. I think that's really cool. So if they do that in the future, I wouldn't complain about that. I think that's really kind of cool. Although I do think the Apex attachment thing is kind of gimmicky. Like if you wanted to give us an akimbo weapon, just give us an akimbo weapon. If you want to give us a tac knife, just give us a tac knife. It shouldn't just be called its own thing, but they do what they gotta do. One other thing that I thought was really great about the game was that the nuke ends the game in this one. I'm not sure if that's how it worked in the most recent games, but that's how it's worked way back in Modern Warfare 2. That's how it should always be if you ask me, unless it's a nuclear. Nuclear and nukes are completely different. A nuke is a kill streak, a nuclear is a gun streak. So if you do end up getting the nuke, I think that's really cool that it ends the game. The nuclear shouldn't end the game, but if you get a nuke, it should end the game. One other thing that I learned from watching the Call of Duty Next is that there will be two prestige systems. One will be the classic prestige system where everything will reset completely, and the other one will be a more modern day system that will allow you to keep all of your stuff. I really suggest that that be the move going forward. I wouldn't be mad if that's how it always goes going forward, as long as there's not a seasonal prestige. Also, I saw that the Damascus grind is back. I'm not a huge fan of Damascus. It's not 2019 anymore. Those days are dead and gone. They're in the books. They're completely over. Also, the camos look like complete shit. I'm not sure what that beta only camo is either. It looked like a complete waste of time to me. I wouldn't be wasting my time on that. Also, I'm not a huge fan of kill block. I think the maps built in look completely unrecognizable. They look like they're made more for airsoft wars. I understand that it probably would have taken the devs a lot of dedicated time to make the combinations look more cohesive overall, but still, it is what it is, ladies and gentlemen. But I don't think that we should waste our time and money with this game. It looks overcooked. It looks like there's not enough passion. You can tell there's not enough love, and it just doesn't have anything classic in it whatsoever from what I've seen. I even saw that Tactical Sprint is back. The matchmaking itself, I heard, is a chore. I didn't see hardly anybody playing and actually having fun with the game unless they were in some sort of bot lobby where they were getting a nuke somehow. Who knows, but it was just a quick clip. It's nothing like the Call of Duty games of old though. They have perfect blueprints in the vault and they don't use them. They don't look at them. They use the data, as they say. The data! That's why the game is the way it is. That's why the pre-orders are where they're at. That's why Black Ops 2 is beating everything on the market and Black Ops 1. It's just an embarrassment, ladies and gentlemen, and I would not waste my time with this game. I will not be pre-ordering it. I will not be playing this game. The sniping does look fun, but it's not looking like it's going to be a good game. If I had to give it a solid rating, I'd probably give it a 3.5 out of 10. But yeah, guys, it's been Evil Change, and peace. Don't waste your money on MW4.